Morning, good morning, good morning to you. Good morning to you. My name is Praise for Welcome to another episode of PF Things. This is episode 26. Now, we've done 26 episodes, which means we started 26 days ago. How are you doing? Thank you for all the people who regularly join me. I'm really grateful for the gift of you. I never take it for granted. Thank you so much for always joining me. Okay, are we ready today? Good, I'm ready. If you're ready, I'm set. Okay, now I hope I am live. Okay, yes, I'm live. Okay, good. So my regular people who join, thank you so much for joining once again. Now, yesterday we looked at the fundamental truth about discovering your calling and how to find your calling. And if you remember yesterday, I gave you the 3Ds: delivery, right? Delivery, and I talked about that delivery is when you pray and maybe God supernaturally show you, or maybe there's a prophecy before you what you're going to be doing with your life. And I talked about discovery using the happy model, HAPPY, your art, your ability, your personality, your passion. And yesterday, then I talked about your desire, which means sometimes you can find your calling based on what gets you upset. Okay, now so today I realize that a lot of people, it's so easy to stop them. They become very easily distracted, or they become they become, how do I put, they just stop doing what they want to do with their life simply because they become discouraged, right? So I've come to encourage you today to be unstoppable, right? Someone asked me 2 days ago, he said, Praise, I was going to prepare for my presentation, my webinar, and I was going through my usual ritual before I go for a presentation, and the person was a bit taken aback. Used to get afraid when you're going for a presentation after over 20 years of making presentations almost every day. And I said to the person, yeah, not really getting scared, but there are butterflies in my tummy every time I have to mount the stage or have to do any presentation, which is why if you see me prepare for anything, you almost think I'm going to make the president, including this one I'm doing every morning. Now, I said yesterday that the secret of every top business is diligence. The secret of every top nation is diligence. So when you look at China, right, you can see a lot of diligence. Now, when the axe is blunt, much strength is required, but skills bring success. So I've promised that I'm going to take a session on skill development, right? The place of skill, right? A lot of people overrate talent, right? But today, I've just come to encourage you to say, be unstoppable, because there are certain questions I've asked myself many years ago, precisely, I think 2016, right? I was running a class because we just decided to do something for free, myself and my friend Fisayo Kusoya. So we decided to run a class for free for people, right? And it did help quite a number of people. People established their businesses. It was a class we call Numero Uno, right? Which means you can actually become the number one in your sector. And I'm so grateful for that class, because since then, Fisayo and I have moved on. Fisayo has become one of the top strategists in Nigeria and Africa right now. And everything we said we're going to do way back, we've started doing now. So I would like to liken your vision or your life to a seed, right? And I would like to benchmark who you want to be to becoming the fruit, right? Your dream is a seed. Your reality is the fruit. But the distance between being seedful and being fruitful is a whole lot of ballgame entirely. A lot of people are getting excited about, oh, God has told me he's going to use me. But between God telling you he's going to use you to eventually using you is a different ballgame entirely. Also, I have people weave out narrative to excuse their lack of fulfillment. So I had mentioned here before, one of the commonest statements you will hear is people saying that we thank God that we are not where we used to be, even though we are not where we want to be. And the question I ask is, why are you not where you want to be? So I was taking a class yesterday for Coach Sam Obafemi, and I was taking a class of an exclusive people, and I made the statement right in that class that there's a word called lifestyle. Everybody use lifestyle, but not many people understand that lifestyle is a combination of two words, life, style. That the first thing you need to find out about your life is, what life am I supposed to live? Who am I supposed to become? And the moment for you to discover that, you have to suspend every religious belief. You have to suspend your cultural beliefs. You have to suspend your biases. You have to suspend every human being that you have delegated your life to, right? And you need to get into your inner world and open yourself up to the divine and write your possibilities, right? Without any limitation. It's possible to you without any form of limitation. Once you can write that out, that is your life. The next thing you now do is you design the style that can deliver that life without any form of distraction. In fact, that if you don't add, by the special grace of God, based on science and data, on following proven paths, you can actually deliver that life. An average human being does not do that. We just abdicate our responsibilities to God, and we say, by the special grace of God, by the special grace of God, without a plan, right? That many people want to operate in the supernatural, forgetting that supernatural is the super over natural. That if you don't master natural, you are not, right? That when your ability is when you need the super. Many people want to start their journey from the super when they have not even mastered how to breathe. They've not mastered how to live. There's a science for living, but they want to go to the supernatural. So they talk so much about the supernatural without experiencing the supernatural. Because supernatural should actually place you above the non-human limitation. A lot of people are performing below human limitation. So natural is what has produced cars. Natural is what flew plane. Natural is what has produced laptop computers. Natural is what has produced the clothes I'm wearing. Natural find many of the things we clap for. Natural is what has defined many of the things we write as prayer point. Supernatural, however, there are things at the level of supernatural right now that we are not even talking about. Right? So an average person talks about supernatural when they don't even understand where they are. But that's not even why I'm here today. I've come to encourage you to be unstoppable. The journey between being seedful and being fruitful is a different ballgame entirely. So if your life is what must determine the style you adopt, but the style you adopt must deliver your life. So I shared with them the concept of narrow is the way that leads to life. He did not say many walk or few walk therein. No, he says few find it. And that's what has defined our world, that only less than 20% of our world will find out the narrow path that leads to their life. In fact, only less than 20% will actually discover their life. Once they discover their life, they will now create the narrow path, because the road is usually narrow, lonely, right? That will lead to where they want to go. Now, that word narrow, which means lonely. It means, unconventional, right? But many of us we hate the narrow. We hate the lonely. We love the conventional. We want to be normal. In my entire research of this, I have not found a normal person who created a conglomerate. I have not found a normal person who was successful. I've never top icon who follow the rules and regulation set by people to achieve where you want to get to. Everyone making waves are natural rule breakers. The kingdom is like a trespasser. A trespasser is someone who goes out of the known. Is someone who bypasses the conscious resistance. Is someone who goes beyond the boundary that has been set. That is what it means status quo. Nobody stays within status quo, right, and becomes great. It's not going to work, right? Because the people set the rules. The rules were set to veer you off course. The rules were set to manage you. Now, if you break out of that rule, people call you rebellious. Now, what stops your seed from becoming fruit? I will mention a few things, then I'll shut down this session and we'll continue tomorrow. Number one, ignorance of the seed you carry. An average person is not aware of the seed they carry. There are so many billionaires, there are so many icons, there are so many people carrying books that will never be written. It was Dr. Miles who said that the wealthiest place on earth is a grave, because inside the grave you have icons who died as bus conductors, you had lawyers who died, as paupers, because they didn't understand the power they carry. Now, if you're listening to me today, you always have to ask yourself, what seed resides in you, right? If you knew me many years ago, even in my foolishness and my stupidity, you could almost say there is something special about this guy. I knew it, right? But I didn't take responsibility for it, right? Because responsibility is responding to the ability, but there's the word I, which talks about your personal responsibility. So when you don't understand the seed you carry, you may never make it to the fruitfulness stage. Number two, ignorance of the fruit trapped in your seed. Is one thing to understand your seed, is another thing to understand the fruit that is tied within your seed. So for example, if you have the seed of a corn, right? If the corn is not aware that there's a maize plantation inside of it, there's a forestic destiny, right? Inside the seed, it will die as a seed. So a lot of people die small because they don't understand the fruit that is resident inside their seed. You need to plant it. Except a grain of wheat falls to the ground and dies, it doesn't abide. That if you get excited about seed and you forget to plant the seed in the right soil, because it's not every soil that can grow your seed, right? A lot of people are seedful, but they're in the wrong soil, so they are producing stunted growth. You are in a place, in the hand of a user who has low self-esteem, right? Who says to you narratives like, if you appear before your time, you disappear before your time. Who defines the appearance? Who defines the disappearance, right? These are narratives that human being has created that has destroyed people, kept them bound for 25 years in the name of God is still preparing you. God doesn't have a problem if you manifest at 18. Elon Musk at 28 has sold the company for over $350 million US, right? By the time it was 30 thereabout, turnover for about $1.5 billion, right? God has no problem. God has no problem making you great at 18. You are walking at the speed you want to walk. It's not dependent on God. But we have invented narrative that has kept people bound. So if you are ignorant of the fruit trapped in your seed, people will stop you. In fact, you will stop yourself because you are not aware that you are a maize plantation. You will remain at the level of seed. So I've seen people who have been under mentoring for 15 years of their life. They are still following. All they are doing is to carry his Bible or carry his books or follow him up and down. They have never been given a platform. Then the question is, when is this person going to manifest? Right? I know your people will now weave a narrative to say Elisha was following Elijah for several years, right? So they will now tell you, no, that's, you need to walk with me for like 20 years. If you walk with me for 20 years, and you're already, in fact, maybe you're older than the person you're even working with, right? So these are some of the things that have stopped people. Ignorance of the fruit trapped in your seed. Number 3, ignorance of the potential of the fruit. It's one thing to be seedful, it's another thing to be fruitful, but even at the level of fruitfulness, there's a level called multiplication, that even there is the potential in your fruit. So you can be a maize seed. You can be an orange seed, but now you have become the orange. But even within the orange, right? So orange seed is maybe $1, right? The orange juice, when you now become orange, right? Let's say you are now worth about $5. Many people stop there. in the orange fruit, right, is still the orange juice, right? So a lot of people potential of their fruit. So when they make it to the fruit level, because they are now above the normal people, they are above the mediocres, they are above the average, they stay there, wherein their mediocrity is excellence to many people looking up to them, forgetting that their excellence is their so-called or perceived excellence is still mediocrity at a higher level, right? So when you are ignorant of the potential of your fruit, you will be stopped. Number 4, wrong handling of the seed by the farmers. Farmers represent, in this case, your mentors, your leaders, the people you have surrendered your seed to. Not everyone is qualified for the gift of people are going to mess it up. Some people are going to plant you on the wrong soil. Handling has killed more people, especially in Africa, because of the insecurity of the leaders. I tell people, if your leader is insecure, you need to check out of that leadership, because that insecurity is going to destroy you. I mean, I've had people say that you can never, I've had someone say that nobody under me can be richer than me, right? Nobody under me can be greater than me. That is a witch or wizard, because by the laws of life, the new person must be greater than the former person. The latter should be greater than the former, right? People make biological children to be greater than them, but they don't want the children they have acquired by mentoring to be greater than them. All right, the highest level of mentoring is when your mentee becomes your mentor. That's the highest level of mentoring. So when you have put yourself in the hand of the wrong mentor or the hand of the wrong leader, by the tenets of leadership, a leader must not be insecure. A leader must not have low self-esteem. The moment your leader begins to manifest low self-esteem and insecurity, your potential is going to be on the thread. So, wrong handling of the seed by the farmer. So the question is, whose hand are you? Whose farmer have you committed your seed into their hand? Because they may plant you on the wrong soil because they don't know how best to use you. Number 5, self-inflicted limitation. Self-inflicted limitation is number 5, and that's where I'm going to stop today. Under self-inflicted limitation, you have laziness and slothfulness. Some of us, you have the seed, but we are very slothful. We never read. We never go for seminars. We never improve ourselves. We just get overly excited by people clapping for us at the local level, right? They're clapping for you. I was listening to my sister Esther. She wrote something about some actress in Nigeria who a younger actress, an aspiring actress, reached out to say, "Madam, I need you to help my career, right? I want to act. Can you help me?" And she looked at the person's bow and talked down the younger person and said, "You don't even have any skits, right? You are just deceiving yourself." And I laughed when I read that the younger person wants to look up to, or as a matter of fact, let me confess to you, I didn't know that name. It was my first time of hearing that name. It was when I went to check her picture that I looked at, okay, maybe this face looks familiar, but I couldn't really place her. So she was a mediocre at the level of Nollywood, as far as I'm concerned. But a younger man who also doesn't know better wanted her to mentor her to stardom. But this person you want to mentor you to stardom has not even attained stardom. But even in her mediocrity, she was still talking down someone else. When that person attains Hollywood or Bollywood, what will that person be doing, right? So a lot of us, we put our life in the hand of people who are struggling. I see people, in Africa, when you're starting something, you just put global, so the moment you begin to travel abroad, people say they are doing global ministry, right? So traveling abroad, once you fly and go and talk, maybe to a black audience or to extension of Nigerian people abroad, they say it's global, you have gone global. That's not global, right? You can sit in your room and go global, right? Oh my God. But you see, because people don't know better, they want to be like them, right? So they begin to doubt their own power wherever they are, right? So unfortunately, the people they think have gone global, if you go global and you just take a walk on the streets they went to, and you ask for their name, you'll be shocked nobody knows them. I traveled to New York, no, not New York, I think Texas. There was a popular name in Nigeria that we all used to listen to. In fact, we could almost beat our chest and kill ourselves that the guy is known all over America. I went into Texas, right? An average Nigeria doesn't know that there are some states in America that is almost bigger than Nigeria. I got into Texas where his office is based, and I asked a few people around, right, on the street of Missouri. Nobody knew him. And they told me, no, his office is far, is not, I mean, my host, who happens to be in Nigeria, said, oh, his office is just there. But I asked the whites around, they didn't know him, right? So I said, how come they don't know him? And someone said they have no business knowing him because he's not an inventor or an industrialist. That in this land, if you are not an industrialist, if you're not an inventor, or if you have not done something that is extraordinary, people don't necessarily have to know you, right? So laziness and slothfulness can impose a self-limiting, inflicted limitation on your ability. Number 2 is confusion and distraction. See, they are waiting for someone else to make them. They are putting their destiny in the hand of someone who is also putting his hand in the hand of someone who has not made it, right? So they think the person who has not made it is going to make them. No wonder the master said, if the blind leads the blind, both of them will fall into the ditch. That if you are blind and the person that is leading you are looking up to is also blind, both of you will end into a ditch. You will never end in your destination. So don't be confused. You need to trust your God. You need to trust your ability. I mean, there's a guy in Nigeria today that people talk about. Is a guy that is called Indabo. Classic case study of what you need to do with your life. Indabo doesn't speak good English. As at the last time I checked, the guy sounds like illiterate, right? But all over the country right now, people are making fun of him, poking fun at him, but everyone is getting to know him. You know why? That guy knows apply finesse. If he tries to sound like someone else, try to sound American, nobody will know him. The guy went local and trusted his God, decided to create a style that is controversial, right? Because that he was headed for stardom. In fact, I was reading about him. They say his mother told him he's going to be popular, a popular man of God or something like that, right? And the guy has designed a style that there's a method to his madness, and it seems to be working for him so far. He's gaining traction. Yesterday, I saw the number of people defending him on Twitter, and I began to pick lessons, right? So don't be confused. Don't be distracted. There is only one maker. Every other person is a product, right? Number 3, error of judgment. Don't make the error of judgment, right? Because if you make that error, it's going to stop you, right? There are people you can't afford to have in your corner. And there are people you need to reach out to go and look for. The laws of life is seek, knock, and ask. He that asks will receive. If you don't ask, you are not qualified to receive it, right? If you don't knock, so which means you need to leave your comfort zone to go and knock on certain doors. Some of those doors will insult you, but keep knocking because they will eventually open. Somehow they're testing you, but you can't sit in your comfort zone and expect them to fall on your laps, right? If you can't reach them yet, can you begin to listen to their videos on YouTube every day as if you are meeting them? Can you begin to visualize yourself in having a meeting with them? Everyone I visualized having a meeting with, I have met. Every on my bucket list, I want to meet. And those ones, I have met them spiritually. I have met them mentally because I load myself with their materials every day. So error of judgment, you can't afford to get into that error. People's opinion. Let me tell you, if you live your life based on what people will say, you are going to fail, right? Because the best of people is spectators. Spectators are never consistent. When you are doing well, they will be clapping. If you watch a woman, when you play badly, the same people will clap. Who. One of the most loved coaches in the history of the world football is Arsene Wenger. Arsene Wenger was the only coach in England who went unbeaten. People praised him, but after a while, when he couldn't get any trophy for several years, Arsenal fans were the ones who started booing him. That's the way spectators are. You cannot stop yourself based on other people's opinion. I mean, I love to describe this guy called Olamide Bado, right? I don't subscribe to his values. I don't subscribe to his music, but I know his story, right? That guy, he wanted to sing lewd songs, right? He knew that if he took his song to his mentor will not approve it. So he trashed his mentor, right? He directly went to the studio and began to beg the producer to produce him, right? The producer produced him. By himself, he took his song to radio station and began to beg for airplay, right? The rest is history. right? That he gave himself a chance. He took risk. That's what we call faith, right? A lot of people claim they are men of faith. They are not men of faith. They are men of fear, right? Masquerading as men of faith. Because the moment you begin to dance to other people's opinion, right, and you allow it stifle you, then if you allow, in fact, your mentor may not understand, which is why some of my mentees, when I disagree with them, I always tell them, if you think otherwise, go ahead and do it, because we will all learn from you, right? That a lot of people, they stifle themselves by the opinion of the people they have placed as authority figures over their lives. There was a time I was going to leave an organization, and because my boss was a Christian, he called me to his office and he told me, Praise, if you go, you may disappear. And he mentioned 7 people have disappeared. And who have led the organization and nobody heard about them. So I asked him, I said, sir, are you speaking as God or as man? Right? Then he couldn't answer that question. So I left him and I went. Right? 7 years later, both of us were guest speakers at a forum, and he had to look at me and he said, Praise, I was wrong, right? What if I'd listened to him, right? So a whole lot of us, we depend on people's opinion, especially the people we respect, right? And we now allow that to stifle us. You know what? It's better you make your mistake based on your decision than for you to still disappear based on someone else's counsel. No human being has the capacity to make you. God can use them for you, but they can't make you, right? But you need to live your life. Martin Luther King Jr. said there are 2 things you must do by yourself: you're believing and you're dying. Nobody can believe for you, nobody can die for you, right? So you need to trust your God and take your solution to the market. You might be shocked that the market is always waiting for you, right? Don't subject it to people who have no business counseling you, because they're going to stop you, especially if the person is insecure, is going to tell you this thing is not going to work. How many things have I been told it's not going to work? People told me family life sector is not going to work in Nigeria. They told me, in fact, someone got me an immigration form and said I should go to Australia, right? They told me we will not sell in Nigeria. But today, we have proven every doubting mouth wrong. A sector is emerging in Nigeria. Guys, don't stop your potential. Never surrender leadership to fears. Never surrender leadership to foes. Never surrender leadership to dissenting voices. Take your journey and begin to walk, trusting. People say, low aim is a crime. Guys, you are deceitful, but you must be fruitful. But beyond fruitfulness, you need to multiply. You need to subdue till your products have dominion. I hope I've helped you today. Thank you so much for joining me. Nothing stops your seed from becoming a forest if you spend your time nurturing it without sentiment and distraction. Nothing stops your seed if you spend it without sentiment and distraction. So here are the questions I'm going to leave you with. Number 1, what coaches have you appointed for yourself? Who are they? What's their exposure level? Do they have the capacity to birth your seed? Number 2, what are their expectations about your life? Right? Are they is your life held bound, or they actually desire for you to go global? Right? What are their expectations about your life? If you have small-minded coaches, your destiny is not going to rise above the law of their lead, because the law of the lead in leadership said nobody can rise beyond their level of exposure. Number 3, how far have they led you? All the coaches you have appointed for your life so far, how far fire them and recruit new other coaches? Because by the laws of football, the moment a coach is as good as his last match, the moment your life is losing, yet you have appointed a coach, you may need to change those coaches. You can't be emotional about your destiny. How far would you have gone if you have no fear of what they would say? That's the final question. How far would you have gone if you have no fear of what they will say, right? Once you answer that question, please go ahead, move on, and deliver your future. I will leave you with the prayer of Miriam Williamson. Greatest fear. Not our darkness that most frightens us. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It's our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, and fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightening about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It is not in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we're liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. This little light of mine, I'm let it shine. This little light of mine, I will let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine all over the world. Your seed has the potential to become a forest. Don't let anyone stop you. I honor you. Have a fantastic day. Bye-bye.